Hello and welcome to another edition on Career Pathway Exploration. My name is Jojo Dalwadi and I'm currently a senior at North Penn High School. In this ongoing series, we will be talking with community members in a variety of careers about how they arrive at their respective careers and what advice they can offer other students on how to be successful no matter what career path they chose after high school. Joining me today is Mrs. Jennifer Buchholz, who is an equine veterinarian. And Mrs. Buchholz, can you please start off with telling me a little bit about your job title and your specific career name?
Sure. So, like you said, I'm an equine veterinarian, and more specifically, I'm an ambulatory equine veterinarian. So, what that means basically is that I treat horses primarily, and that I do that out on the road. So, I move from farm to farm, working to keep horses healthy. I do a lot of sports medicine, so I'm keeping horses in good performance. And so I do that all out of a Ford F-250 truck that I drive around Bucks and Montgomery counties as I see my patients throughout the day.
So, what made you kind of go towards that career path? Was it your upbringing? Did you live on a farm in your childhood, or was it something else you were exposed to later on in your life?
Well, I think it started very early in life. I've always been an animal lover. I would always try to raise baby birds if I had found one that had fallen out of the nest, and was always kind of exploring the woods out behind my home where I grew up in central New York. So, yeah, I was a country kid. I always loved dogs and cats. And then my mom came to horses kind of as an adult, and I was a young person at that time and really just fell in love with horses and everything related out on the farms and big part of country life.
Okay, and did you need any specific education slash training? Like, were there any specific high school classes you took or clubs you joined that kind of helped you kind of dive into this endeavor?
Well, I did focus a lot on science and math. Definitely, that's something that colleges and veterinary schools look at and want you to be very proficient in as you take on the really strenuous course of study that veterinary school is. Other things I did, I volunteered at a local small animal hospital and, cleaned up after dogs and assisted with procedures and put medications together, did some basic veterinary tasks to sort of show that I was very educated about what the profession was and was going to be in terms of a real life career. So definitely started early.
And you said you went to a veterinarian school. Now, is that like a graduate program? Like, some lawyers go to law school, doctors go to medical school. Like, is there a undergraduate program and then you go to a graduate program, or is that something you kind of learn in your undergraduate year in college?
Well, it's a professional school, so it's a postgraduate work, and definitely you do a lot of heavy science and math in your undergraduate courses. So when you're in college, right out of high school, or however you end up, your path takes you to get there. So I went to college right after I finished high school, and after I finished my college studies, which I had a major in zoology and a minor in German. Just for fun, really. Then I took a few years off and worked in biotech in the Boston area and kind of got myself prepared to start veterinary school at that point. So I had a 4-year break between undergrad studies at college and going into my professional program at the University of Pennsylvania.
And why specifically biotech?
I wasn't 100% confident that I would be successful in veterinary school or as a veterinarian. So I needed that time to experience some other science related career path. And then I became pretty sure that wasn't for me. And that helped me get a little bit more ready to take the leap to veterinary school.
And you said at first you weren't really confident. What changed that?
Well, I did have a friend in my college studies at the University of New Hampshire, and she was preparing to go to veterinary school, and she really felt like she hadn't been the strongest student, and she said, you get all these other experiences and you can really build yourself into somebody who's terrific for veterinary school and can become a really great veterinarian. So I had a friend who believed in me, and that helped me believe in myself a little bit more. And then I took some classes while I was working in biotech. So I would work all day and then take some classes at night and prove to myself that I could be a good, strong student. I didn't have the best grades when in my undergraduate career. So I had a little bit to prove both to myself and to veterinary schools that I could cut it academically, really.
And in many careers, you kind of have to work your way up in that profession. So, like, for doctors, they might have to go through a residency program and then they kind of go through all the other steps and obstacles, and then they become a doctor. Is that similar to an equine veterinarian where you kind of have to work your way up the ladder, or do you just kind of educate yourself in the topic and then you look for a profession that has openings in that area?
Right, right. So veterinary school is a 4-year program, so pretty intensive program. Once you become board certified after passing that big national exam, then you really can go out and practice. What I chose to do instead, however, was to pursue an internship. So I did a 1-year internship at a surgical hospital where I did a lot of I helped out in a lot of surgeries, maintained a lot of cases after surgery. We did a lot of sports medicine there. So I felt like that gave me a little bit of a leg up and some extra experience that I hadn't gained during the veterinary school education.
And you mentioned the national exam. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What steps you took to prepare for it and what type of questions you might see?
Sure. When I was a student, there was a portion that was multiple choice. So a day long exam full of multiple choice questions. And then on day number 2, there was what was called the CCT, the clinical competency test. So that was all managing cases, making critical decisions, ordering tests. So, a simulation essentially of how you would handle casework when you're actually out practicing. Um, there was a lot of study that went into getting ready for that exam. Of course, going through clinical rotations and all your coursework at veterinary school helps you get ready too. But then we had some formal courses as far as the strategy for taking the exam and the structure of the exam, so there weren't any surprises when you sat down to take it. But nobody feels very good when that exam is over. Everybody feels like they'll have to take it again, so we all kind of moped around the hospital waiting for our test results to come back, and most everybody passes, but certainly was a pretty stressful time.
And after that, you kind of mentioned your first step towards the career as being an internship. Did anything about that internship kind of scare you away from being an equine veterinarian or open your eyes to something that you didn't really know about?
It was really stressful, and I think the hard part about internship is you're sort of in the middle. You want to make your own clinical decisions, but essentially there's a senior person whose case it actually is, and so you're a little bit guessing what would they want me to do versus what's my gut instinct to do. So it was kind of a strange in between, and I really appreciated the opportunity to get the experience without being the person who was ultimately responsible for the case. But it was a little bit of a tough spot to be in when you're sort of fighting your own intuition versus trying to second guess what someone else would have you do.
And can you tell me the steps you took after that internship? What opportunities that opened up?
Right. As a student, I had visited with several practices in the area, and it turned out that actually one of those practices that I had visited as a student was looking to hire someone when I had completed my internship. So I had gone there to interview and interviewed at a couple other local places too. And the practice I joined just seemed to be the best fit for me.
And when you finally got the position of equine veterinarian, was there anything out of the ordinary that you didn't really expect?
Well, one of the things I didn't expect in practicing is how much you're treating the people. Really, you become kind of a confidant, and you learn a lot more about people than I would have anticipated. So it puts you in a role of, not only are you the doctor for their animals, but
Mm.
you become a friend, you become someone they confide in. It puts you in the role of therapist at some points. So the intensity of dealing with the owners and the clients, I think, was more than I anticipated.
And you just talked about, it's something that you didn't really expect, but what's a normal day-to-day life for you in the workplace?
Well, I always tell people if you like to, if you can enjoy the unexpected, that is kind of what horse medicine is like. So typically I start my day at the office around 8 o'clock. We don't see any patients at the office, but I belong to a group of 5 veterinarians. So we meet there in the office in the morning. We have what we call case rounds. So we talk about any ongoing situations that the other vets need to be aware of. Well, I was on call over the weekend and I saw Michael's horse, and this is the problem. He might need some attention. So
Mhm.
we sort of talk about all those things that are ongoing. We may share interesting x-ray images that we have and want to talk about, well, this would be my approach. What would you do? So there's a lot of brainstorming that happens in the morning. We do have a technician who kind of stocks our trucks and gets us ready to roll out for work that day, puts any equipment we might need in the vehicles for us. So we can do ultrasound exams in the field, x-ray exams in the field. So we do a lot of things. It's like having a mobile hospital on wheels. So we really do quite a bit. We can put lacerations back together, wounds. We do, like I said earlier, a lot of sports medicine. So that's making sure the horse is performing at its best. We do joint injections and other different kinds of therapies that help the horses do their best in their jobs. So we do all that stuff in the morning in preparation. Then basically around 9:30, I roll out to start seeing appointments.
Mhm.
And that can be, it could be an hour-long appointment. It could be a 3-hour-long appointment. So you're in and out of the weather. You're teaching people how to help you do the procedures that need to be done. Sometimes I have technical support. Sometimes I'm teaching the owner how to do what I need. So it's pretty interesting. The end of the day really can be 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, depending on whether we're in the winter or in the busy season, which is typically spring to October. And it's one of those jobs where it's oh, while you're here, doc, can you take a look at this? Can
Mhm.
you see that? So there really is a lot of variability from day to day.
So it's certainly not an office job. And would it be safe to say that there's a lot of travel within the area?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm in my truck quite a bit and listen to a lot of country music, which kills my kids, but just seems the right thing to listen to when you're in a big truck like that.
Mhm. So, and you also mentioned that you're kind of a part of a team with 5 other veterinarians. And has that opened your eyes to the idea that there's not one single path that someone has to take to become a veterinarian, or is it all normally kind of the same?
Well, through veterinary school, there are a lot of people who came to veterinary medicine as second careers. I had people who were trained as engineers and then,
Mhm.
were 30, 35 years old, decided that wasn't satisfying, and then they would come to veterinary school. We had some people who were artists. I mean, people who I wouldn't have thought would be drawn to medicine,
Mhm.
but, definitely brought a very unique background. I think the group I work with now, well, kind of got there in a sort of similar way. But definitely the way we think about cases is very different. I've been practicing for 20 years. My senior partner has been practicing for 35 years, but then we have a couple of younger veterinarians who have been out 4 or 7 years, and
Mhm.
they bring a very fresh perspective. And things have changed since I left veterinary school. There's a lot of great toys that we have to play with. Ultrasound, for example, is one of the things that we use so much more now and really can help guide our diagnostics and our therapies. So I think in terms of the group we have, there's a lot to be learned from one another. That we've got a couple of
Mhm.
people who lots of experience, so we've learned the hard way how to do things that we can share with our younger colleagues that have bringing fresh perspective from school.
Mhm. And what would you say you most enjoy about your profession?
Um, Boy, I love the freedom of being in the truck and the fact that my office rolls around with me all day, that I get to spend it with wonderful animals, great clients who are also good friends. And I love the camaraderie actually that our group has.
So it's really like a team environment. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I don't think every place is like that, but I've been very lucky that this group likes to work together. And I love the medicine. I really love problem solving and trying to get to the bottom of a good mystery. So to me, it's a very good challenge that way.
Mhm. And would you have any specific advice for younger high schoolers who kind of want to be in your position, or would you tell yourself that would you tell your younger self to do anything kind of differently?
Well, I think I tried to do it the right way when I was a kid, getting some experience in the veterinary field and knowing a lot about different aspects of veterinary medicine. I think I didn't fully understand until I got to veterinary school, just how diverse the field is. You can work in public health, you can work in a laboratory setting, you could do research. It's not just being a cat or dog doctor.
Mm.
There are really many options and so many ways that you could use the training. So I would say, go get out there, network, and meet as many veterinarians as you can. Educate yourself about what the field really is and what it really has to offer. There's so much for so many different types of personalities and skill sets. I think just getting familiar with what the profession has to offer is a big step forward.
And have you ever been put in an kind of uncomfortable situation where you kind of had to go out and treat a horse or any other animal, and you were kind of like, you kind of knew it wasn't going to be good news regardless? Have you ever had to prep for that?
Yes, it definitely is difficult. I had a call over the weekend where a gentleman called and said his horse had been sick all day. She was laying down in the stall. She wasn't going to get up. And it wasn't a client that I had met before. So mentally, I needed to prepare and be able to try to offer him something when going into the situation, I knew probably the animal wasn't going to make it, but I didn't want to go in just with that attitude. So it was, I didn't know the person. It put him in a difficult position because he didn't know me. So, here I'm sort of forced to give bad news to someone who is unfamiliar with me. And so it can be difficult in that way sometimes.
Well, Mrs. Buchholz, I wanted to thank you so much for joining me today, and I appreciate your time to offer career advice to students of North Penn that range from 7th grade and also seniors in high school. And we always kind of let the interviewee kind of give their final sentiment in any regard. It could be last minute advice to anybody. It could be, I don't know, a fun fact about what you do, just anything. The spotlight is yours.
Great. Well, I would say believe in yourself, trust what you're capable of. It really took a friend to believe in me before I had the strength to jump in and pursue veterinary medicine. So I would say you may have some ideas about who you are at this stage in your life, but be sure to keep an open mind, go out there, and don't be afraid to really realize your potential and be all you can be.
Thank you, Mr. Buchholz. And for everyone at home, you can watch all of our episodes of the Career Pathway Exploration Series on the North Penn Television YouTube channel at youtube.com/NPTV. I'm Jojo Dawadi, and thank you for watching with us today, and we'll see you next time on Career Pathway Explorations.